So I bought a Targa top today and we're going to rebuild it. The first thing we're going to do is take off this metal seal. I started working on this thing before I started recording, so I already had it off. But basically, you just take a chisel and a hammer and just chisel that metal ring off of there. It comes off pretty easy, not too big of a deal. The next thing, you're going to look at this thing and just go, what in the world happened here? But this is what happens when you don't bolt down a target top. You hit about 50 miles an hour, and the target top just flies off the car, hits the road, and gets basically destroyed. So, what we're going to do here is sand all this out, fill it, and try to get everything back in good shape. So, it's pretty well beat up. I already started seeing, and like I said, I started doing this, and then I go, oh, I forgot to record it. So I've got it all sanded down, rough sanded at this point. A lot more sanding needs to be done. I got it, went all the way around the edges with some paint, cleaned that up just so I could see the high and low spots. And then what I did was I went back around with a little bit of nitrogen or scratch filler, and I went across there. I still have to sand that out, but it's coming along pretty good. And the next thing we did was take off the weather strips. I hate taking off the weather strips. It's such a pain. They're all glued in. Trying to get them in and out of there and get all that old weather strip out. It's ridiculous. Yeah, you can buy those side pieces for another $50, but next thing we're going to do is, well, we're just going to take a look at the frame, make sure the frame's in pretty good shape, which it is. So that's in good shape. The headliner, well, at least the cardboard's still there, but the fabric's gone. So we'll take that up and we'll put new fabric on there. Some of the Velcro came off, so we have to re-glue that Velcro back on there. We'll get some contact cement, put that on. But the underside looks pretty good. So we'll take um, clean that up a little bit and see what we can do. The next thing we're going to take a look at is the adjusters. There's three different styles, and here they are. I took this from Corvette. I hope they don't mind. But there's three styles from 84 to 96. These three pieces are the pieces that go in the car, and this is obviously the piece that's on the top. Now I have to stick with an 84, and the reason, or 84 to 86, and the reason for that is because I have a brand new acrylic top that I just had built by Melrose T Tops. And if I change what this style, then the other one won't fit. So they both have to be the same because you're changing out the car, you're not changing out the top. So you take an 1.25 inch socket and loosen up those adjusters. Once you get them loosened up, then you can fit it. Here you can see that I sprayed the frame in a high gloss black paint. There is nothing that shows more scratches and where you have to work on the roof than high gloss. It won't stay this color. It's just to give me an outline of where the frame was on the roof and what has to be done to the frame. So the, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the frame off of the roof. It did partially come loose, so we're just going to take that off. I got some screwdrivers, a couple of gasket scrapers, and a putty knife. and I put the screwdrivers under there, and then just worked around with the scrapers, got in there with a putty knife, and just worked all the way around the edges until I propped it up. Do not forget to take the 4 screws out that are under those caps in all 4 corners. So there's 4 7-millimeter bolts, and they bolt down. Um, they bolt the top. I guess this is what they use to hold the frame onto the fiberglass while the urethane is setting up. So here's what we have with the frame off. And there's those round pieces with the screw holes that I was talking about. So that's a real good alignment pin to put the frame in the exact same spot. So I'll have to sand the glue down, and then I'll have to sand the glue down off of the frame. You can see it came up pretty good. There's 1 or 2 little spots where the fiberglass started the delamination coming off of it. But other than that, it looks pretty good. We'll get in there, we'll grind that all out. I did use 3M window weld. This is what the Melrose T-tops, that's what they recommended. They recommended basically any black urethane, so I used that. Next thing we're going to do is scrape all the old urethane off of the frame. So once again, I used a gasket scraper, just chiseled down. That took most of it out of there. And it's a little time consuming, but it's not real bad. I found that it came off pretty good. Um, Obviously, it's easier to clean the fiberglass than it is the frame, but it works out okay. So I got all the big pieces off. Now I have to just clean down to the metal. So I'll get in here with a 3M roll lock, clean that up. And then the last thing I'll do is go in there and clean the groove out. So I get a really good spot where the urethane sits. So here I used a cotter pin extractor, and I just got in there and hammered it. And you can see how clean that groove came out. It really looks good. So here, this is factory. So it's a piece of paper that they put over top of the adjusters. Now, this one, I kind of ruined the one on the one side, so I made my own little piece of paper, but that's the adjuster for the 84 to 86. Now, they put the paper over there. I'm assuming that they put the paper so that thing slides. If they didn't have that paper there and that urethane oozed in there, then how would you'd never get it to adjust properly. So I believe that's what the paper's for. So I put a new piece of paper in the one side, left the factory on the other side. Now we can fill it up with urethane and not worry about the adjusters getting all bound up. But you can see I got the frame all cleaned up. I got the groove straightened out. Once again, there's the little alignment pins in the 4 corners that are going to help me put this top right back from where it came from. I didn't really take the urethane off of those 4 corners because I thought it was a good alignment spot that it would really sit in back where it originally came from. Plus, that part gets screwed in anyway, so that'll work out good. There's the 4 screws that I was talking about that are underneath those caps in the frame. So you pull those caps out, pull those screws out. Each one of those screws have 4 washers. I'm sorry, 2 washers on each screw. Here I'm putting the urethane on. Once again, 3M black urethane. It's called window weld. I called Melrose T-tops. They did my acrylic roof. I asked them what they used on the fiberglass. They said this is what they used, and it worked real well. So that's what I went with. So I put that on there. Got it all lined back up. I'll put the screws back in tomorrow, but for right now, I'm just going to clamp the thing down and see what clean it all up and make sure it's all watertight, right? So I'll get it clamped down, make sure that it's sitting in there right, and then I don't know, I just get in there with my fingers, and I'll make sure that wherever the urethane came out, I'll just clean that edge up so the gaskets all the way around will sit real nice, and so the roof looks real good, right? You want it to look good. So, so that's that. Just put a little more urethane in there and make sure that it's all going to be watertight and there's no water getting in. You figure when this thing's going down the road at 50 miles an hour, the last thing that you want is some kind of water intrusion, right? Even if it doesn't get in your car, it might get in that channel enough to rot it out. So I think that's pretty much it for today. We'll let that sit for 24 hours. We'll screw the little 4 screws in, put the plugs back in. Okay, so I just got the car back from Tint World, and they wrapped the whole car. Nobody really wanted to paint this car. So I ended up having it wrapped. Evidently, fiberglass is a pain in the ass. I'm not quite sure. A lot of people talk about it cracking, but anybody that actually wanted to paint it was going to charge me $20,000. So, and on C4s just aren't worth that, right? So I had it wrapped. I bought this kit from, I think it was Corvette Central. Now, when the car comes new from the factory, it comes with a metal uh, edge liner. But as you replace it, repaint it, you can take off that metal. And since mine was so beat up, I couldn't put it back on. I bought this kit. And so you just put glue in there and you wrap it around, make sure it's in tight, glue it on its seams, and it looks pretty good. It looks factory. I have an acrylic top that Melrose T-tops replaced for me because the acrylic cracked. And when they sent it back with this rubber gasket as well. So I guess once you take off the metal, nobody reuses them again. But it came out really good, looks nice. I got it all glued up, just got to wait for it to dry. And once it dries, we'll go ahead and put it in. Now, here, what we're looking for is how to adjust this. So the first thing we're going to do is loosen up these 2 screws, and then we're going to loosen up these 2 screws, right? Because this top didn't come from my car. So that'll give just a little bit of a wiggle room. The next thing we're going to do is install the rear bolts, right? So once we have the rear bolts in the car and it's sucked in, then we can move to the front. I've already got the front loosened, right? So those big pins will align themselves into the hole. Now, I don't have these all the way tight. You can see I tightened them, but then I backed them off just a little bit. And until I could get this to suck down. Then once I got it sucked down, then I went back and I tightened the back screws. Once I got the back 2 screws tight, then I started to pull down the front. And now I'm getting in there with my wrench. I believe this is a 28 millimeter thin wall wrench. And so by having the screws in, now when I use this wrench and tighten it up, everything locks itself in place. So when I eventually take this off, I'll never have to do this again. But when you originally put somebody else's top on your car, you're going to have to make sure that it aligns for your car. So once I got everything tight, then I can tighten the front. Now I have the front tight, I have the back tight, I'm ready to go. The last thing that we're going to do is tighten up those outer screws, right? So we'll tighten up these, and once we have these 4 tightened up, now the top is locked in place, right? Everything is in good shape. It's all aligned correctly. I should be able to take it off and put it on as many times as I want, and it'll fit perfectly. The last thing we're going to do is put this a liner in. So as you saw earlier in the video, the I keep calling it cardboard. It's not cardboard. It's stronger than that. I'm not quite sure it is, but I had somebody put a liner on it. That was really cheap, and so I got that in. It looks really good. So there it is installed. Everything looks good. The car looks great. It fits real good. The weather strips came out real nice, and everything just, I couldn't be happier, right? And so the whole job came out good. The top will now be able to get on, get off, no problem. Of course, I still have my acrylic top that I'm just going to leave in the car, right in the holder in the back, because I really don't drive around with no tops. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If you could give me a thumbs up and a like and subscribe, that would be great. Thank you. Have a great day.